I wanna change.
Do ya? Do ya?
I wanna change.
Do ya? Do ya?
I wanna change.
Oh, here we go.
I wanna help the people who are mentally chained, whose minds haven't trained to go right down the drain. I wanna help my people who felt nothing but pain. My people who felt nothing but pain. I wanna teach many things.
This year, it's been a pretty whirlwind of a year, with Donna leaving, then I stepped in at the beginning of the year. And we already had some works in place with Marjorie Ginsburg as far as using the motivational framework to help look at instruction at Cleveland. So we started off with that in a day, which really went over really well. We had community people, parents, teachers, students come and collect information that we could use to later shape our learning community here. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for coming and welcome to the new Cleveland High. We appreciate you. This year is about teaching and learning. And I'm really proud to be able to help initiate this momentous project that we're about to embark on. And it's a good chance, a great chance actually, for us to partnership with Dr. Marjorie Ginsburg, University of Washington, our school district, our community, students, staff, parents, and educators.
This is a day that I've been dreaming of, and I've also been waking up at nights about. And having it happen is more wonderful than I ever dreamed. There's a paradox that we have going on when we talk about education today. I find a paradox, and that is we talk very often and very deeply about how all students can learn. Sometimes we forget that all teachers can learn. Sometimes it's hard to bring that into our minds. And what tonight and tomorrow and the next day are about is teachers learning. I think the need for Data Today is to take a look in the mirror and look at what we're doing and get the information and do something with it, as opposed to just going on as business as usual, taking a look at, well, this is what we're really doing, as the superintendent calls the brutal facts. What are we doing? What are we not doing? What's working? What's not working? What strategies are data proven, that are best practices that we should focus on, as opposed to some things that maybe we need to throw out. So this is a classroom of one of the teachers who was being observed. All of our teachers got observed on this day. A team went through every single classroom. One of the things that was kind of interesting about that is that teachers were all given the option to not let people come through. The instruction was, if you don't want to be observed, just put a sticky note on your door. And you can make that decision right up until the minute, before someone's coming in. One of the kind of points we were talking about earlier is that an interesting thing was some teachers, we heard little things prior to the day about, oh, so-and-so isn't going to be observed, or so-and-so says they won't do it. And on the actual day, every single teacher opened their door.
So today we're going to pretend like we are some enzymes dealing with some substrates. And the enzyme we're going to be working with is what's called toothpickase. It's not a real one, obviously. But what we're going to have at our tables are some toothpicks, 41 per person to be exact. And we're going to be pretending like we are the enzymes that will be breaking the bonds, between the reactant, and then we're going to be getting our products here. So we're going to pretend like we are the enzyme toothpickase, because remember what does enzyme end with all the time, usually? What suffix does an enzyme end with? And stop. Oh.
It is a data in a day observation in our classes for us to improve the teaching methods or improving it some more.
I'm looking at meaning, or the other thing that Marjorie did is she updated the language to reflect the way in which Seattle Public Schools talks about it. So meaning crosswalks to rigor. So I'm looking at rigor in the different classrooms.
The whole thing is basically just an experiment that we were doing, studying. We all were given things to study, and we had paleontologists. And what we're going to be grading on is, of course, what it looks like, what we've learned.
So one of the things that happened today that I believe was significant is that we started building an infrastructure that can really inform student learning and teachers' instruction related to student learning, that can provide ongoing knowledge and scaffolding for change.
I
Okay, so we're looking at competence or results and looking at how teachers in their classrooms are encouraging the results that we want to see from Cleveland. So achievement, motivation, and making sure that kids can use this material in real life.
This group was focusing on inclusion in the classrooms, which means they were looking for evidence of a relationship of trust built between teachers and students in the classroom.
Because that teacher, she says she doesn't trust her students with lab work because they're not responsible. So I think that in that one, it's I wonder how can that teacher build trust, maybe?
I think the fact that each teacher is stepping forward and it takes them out of the closet, so to speak, so that when they're breaking down that lesson and they're observing each other and they're walking through each other's classrooms and looking at them, they're seeing that there is a need or at least an opportunity to get better. And we can all get better. And the exciting thing about lesson study this year, I think, is that every staff member has participated in at least 2 to 3 lesson studies so far.
So the way it works is we'll look at a lesson that Dr. Reed has created. Have you actually created it, or is it? Okay.
The topic of today's lesson is effective note-taking around academic reading. Now, I'm going to talk about how to, in the note-taking conversation, I'm going to talk about coding, okay, and how to do that. Actually, one should code, real quickly, one should code their reading before they start taking notes on it. That's the gist of it. And then I'll be talking about how they could go, what that would look like.
Sorry about that. I'm so sorry. Come on in.
The Cornell note-taking model is a very efficient way of organizing your thoughts, organizing material, what's relevant, being able to flush out what's not relevant when we're talking about academic reading, okay? Now, when I say academic reading, who can tell me what's the difference between academic reading and other forms of reading? Anybody want to take a guess? Go ahead.
Academic reading is probably, or what I think is, it's more reading because it's for school, and other types of reading is just reading because it's something you like to do.
Okay, all right. Anyone else? I like that. Thank you. Thank you for volunteering that.
So who had inclusion and who had relationships?
I did.
Oh, great. So, you know, Dr. Reed isn't here to hear, but I think this will be a good, we can always share once Mark is gone.
Teachers acknowledge every student at the beginning of the class. We came in at the middle, but Catherine did a wonderful job of introducing all of us, and then Dr. Reed reintroduced himself and the subject that he spoke, the subject that he teaches.
We'll talk about the wows first, and then we'll talk about the wonders. And we'll probably just get to a few each because of time constraints, but hopefully it'll give you a sense of what you want to do more of, or the same as, or differently. And the same with all of us. And this is an important part of the process to emphasize. Although we were watching you, we were also thinking about our own practice. Sure. So at the end of a lesson study, everybody sets goals for themselves based on what we've thought about. So we've got relationships, we've got relevance, we've got rigor, and then we've got results.
So I did see, the term academic reading and questioning that to start what is academic reading as an obvious example of a probing and challenging question. That you didn't rush students, that you went through a detailed explanation and didn't have the pressure of just getting to the meat of it. Overall, what I like, two things that I've come away with are the need for teachers for our own self-worth and kind of improve our own practices, the need to feel like we're professionals. And when I feel like I'm a professional, because I feel like I've been educated as a professional and I consider myself a professional, but often we're not seen as professionals. And I think just like anything else, we can kind of internalize that and we stop seeing ourselves as, this is intellectual work, this is serious work. So any opportunity for us to sit and to, in a structured way, to view each other's work, which is a reflective process. So whenever I'm watching another teacher, I'm immediately thinking about how I do it and how this compares to my class. And then I'm offering them their own feedback and things like that, which is then they get to reflect again. And having a teacher in your room, you're self-aware and you're reflecting. So reflection is the key to improving practice. So this is a way for us to, in a professional manner, reflect and take time out of our day to deal with the serious intellectual work of teaching.
So I want to congratulate everyone, first of all, for the work that you guys have been doing and the effort that you've been making and how you've been taking risks, because when you grow and stretch, you got to take some risks. And you guys really, really have been opening yourself up and making efforts to get better and moving us forward along in the process of improving Cleveland and Cleveland's culture and Cleveland's image on academics and learning. We were in a meeting about maybe 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and we were kind of talking about some stuff, and it kind of segued into talking about families in our community and our families and how to better serve them. And Amy kind of spontaneously started talking about some of her home visits. And it was just amazing listening to some of the stuff that she had learned and that she had shared with us about the insights that she got on some of our students and their families and how she was better able to serve them because of that.
Just to talk to his dad was very scared about having me over, kind of not very sure about what this would be like. And when I knocked on the door, he opened it up a crack and said, "I don't take solicitors." Of course, I had called ahead that day and told him I'd be there at 4:30, but he was kidding and he let me in. And I sat on the couch and I was kind of nervous, and I had some questions that I was going to ask, because mainly this is a time to just learn about where the kids are coming from, and the teacher is going in as a learner. After I'd been there about 45 minutes, we had talked about this man's past and what he was skilled in and what he was excited about with his son in education and what hopes he had for his son, because he himself was never able to go to college. He served in the military and owned his own business, which is excellent. And he said, first I wasn't so sure about you, but you're all right. And so that made me excited to know that, I had formed this friendship with this parent, and that I had a new year next year to even make that go further, because I'd probably have a son in senior project in the, in the next year. So that was one very exciting time.
It felt sort of, at first, not awkward, but more like there's a teacher in my house. Your eyes flare up and you're just like, what? Kind of.
At first, I was skeptical of doing it, but when I did it, I felt good, and it was a good feeling.
My reason for wanting to have a home visit with Miss Bader is, to me, in order to get the most out of a class, knowing your teacher fairly well helps you to learn better from them, because in a way you're now connected to him or her, and to an extent that says we can accomplish things together.
The transparentness of teaching now that's starting to unfold at Cleveland is unheard of at Cleveland, unparalleled. And I think the fact that we have the 4 quadrants, that we're going to look at the relationships, we're going to look at the relevance, we're going to look at the rigor, we're going to look at the results, and everybody is talking that same language and expecting each other to uphold their end of it. I think that's big, and that's going to keep people motivated to continue.
What we're trying to do is trying to bring the community into Cleveland and letting them know that we're not such of a school like they think we are. And we're trying to step up our game so we could be like up there with them, instead of because we all had to start all over since we got this new school. So it's just basically we're starting from ground zero and building our way up.
When I tell people what school I go to, adults, they go to Cleveland. You go to that school, so I want to show people what the school really is. They just got it that signature. You know what you're talking about, the signature? That's what people got it as. Our signature is bad, as bad students. I want to show people we have great kids, great teachers, and we have great activities, but we just need to bring it out so the students can have more stuff. And a shout out to my teacher, Mr. O. He's not here. That is my favorite teacher, so yeah, that's my school design.
Nothing but pain. I want to teach many things to survive as a human being. I really want to teach them to be how to multiply, add, and subtract. Most of all, I just want to give